August 7th. Russia's central railway stations are on fire. Railways have been blown up by the Ukrainian armed forces. Trains have derailed. A freight train is burning and a logistics facility has been destroyed. Leningradsky and Paveletsky stations in the capital of Mordor are under attack by the armed forces of Ukraine. Operation Web continues. Moscow residents are in chaos and a total evacuation is underway.
It's absolute chaos at Paveletsky station. I called Russian Railways and they said they fixed everything. Nothing is delayed. Come on over. But over there, it's a total crush.
The railway got moved. Right by the bridge.
Bada boom. Moscow's trains have been blown up. Hundreds are trapped under the rubble. The platform is filled with smoke. Evacuation of the railways.
Near Vigonichi.
Near Vigonichi?
A message. Moscow, Volgograd, Moscow. Dear passengers.
132 trains have been delayed. Crimea, the Caucasus, the entire south. Russia's railways have come to a halt. People are lying on the floor in panic. There's no water. It's hot. People are hysterical. The evacuation is starting.
Yeah.
And this is Sheremetyevo and Vnukovo. 1,000 flights have been canceled there. Passengers are being given inflatable mattresses to sleep right on the floor.
It feels like after the show Survivor, I'm now on the series Lost. We've already been flying for 3 hours as the escalation. But it's all an illusion. We're still here. One more attempt to finally get out of here. All right, this time we're going to make it. I thought there would be fewer people at Sheremetyevo. Apparently, the airport handed out mattresses to those who have been waiting a long time.
There's panic, total chaos. It's impossible to leave. Hell, heat, stuffiness, shouting, children on the floor, no water. People are sleeping on concrete. Instant noodles and a bottle for 3 people. That's all we've been given in more than a day. Ukrainian drones have been attacking Russia, Moscow, and St. Petersburg for the 4th day in a row. We'll discuss all this with top analyst Alexander Demchenko right now. Breaking news, friends. The railways are under attack by the armed forces of Ukraine. We struck 5 districts at once. There's a fire at a railway station in the Moscow region. A freight train is burning and the passenger train has been urgently evacuated. We're blowing up trains, stations, railway junctions, military equipment, the arteries of Russia. Hell, heat, stuffiness, shouting, no water. Collapse in Russia. Meanwhile, at railway stations in Moscow and other regions of Russia, there is collapse, panic, evacuation, and stampedes. 132 trains have been delayed. We are attacking not only military airfields, but also railway junctions, the arteries of Russia. Silence. More than $50 million in losses, and all this can't be fixed even in half a year. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled. Passengers in Moscow are trapped. Sheremetyevo, Pulkovo, and Zhukovsky airports are paralyzed. Panic, stampedes, disruptions, and even Telegram isn't working. FSB is jamming communications. We are entering a phase of total pressure by rail, by air, by sea. We'll discuss all this with top analyst Alexander Demchenko right now. Sasha, welcome.
Hello, Dasha. Hello, everyone.
What do you think about our pressure on the railways and aviation? I suggest we start with the railways because we've been constantly blowing up railway junctions and military equipment convoys over the past few weeks.
As for the strikes directly on the railway lines, I keep consistently saying that Ukraine is actively disrupting Putin's anticipated August offensive. The offensive in August, they announced it themselves. But that's exactly what we want to see, because the Ukrainian side, the Ukrainian armed forces, are now forcefully and massively destroying railway junctions, substations, railways, entire tracks. In the Rostov region, a huge stretch of track has been destroyed. The Rostov region is a crucial area because it is the southern military district of the Russian Federation. Accordingly, a lot of military hubs, equipment, ammunition, supplies, food, blood, everything you can imagine is concentrated there. Everything goes through Rostov and is supplied from there, especially if we're talking about the Donbas direction for Vladimir Putin. That's why Ukraine is now deliberately striking at railway hubs, and since all the railways as well as all air traffic are centered on Moscow, all this indicates that Ukraine is disrupting Putin's plans for a successful not just summer, but already summer-autumn offensive, since Vladimir Putin, screwed up the first summer offensive. He was making all these threats, saying he would encircle Sumy, surround Sumy, take Odessa, advance toward Kharkiv, move in the direction of Dnipro, and capture Zaporizhia and Kherson. So where is all of that now? Where is all of that? He strikes at mothers in labor, kills pregnant women. How many times has this happened already? For the third time in the past month, Vladimir Putin has struck a maternity hospital, hit a maternity hospital, attacked a clinic in Odessa, tried to kill a large number of people right on the beach, on the sea, where people were just relaxing, using his drones. Children, women, the elderly, men. In other words, this is out of helplessness, out of impunity, because apparently he thinks, though he's mistaken, that he won't be punished. He's wrong to think that. He's wrong to believe he won't face consequences. A response will follow in the coming days. Trump didn't just drastically reduce the ultimatum period to 10 or 12 days for no reason. There's a certain logic here, which isn't directly related to the game, to the number of days. It's directly connected to Ukraine's and America's, and the West's overall readiness to carry out a large-scale special operation on Russian territory. And I'm sure that on the 10th, or rather the 11th day most likely, or maybe the 13th, depending on how Trump decides, but it's clear that the peak will fall between August 6th and 8th, and after that, things will get very heated in Moscow. No one is going to wait for Putin, standing in Beijing next to Xi Jinping. Strikes will be carried out when Putin is in Russia, in Moscow, at the decision-making center, near the Kremlin, or somewhere at his Dasha, in his residence, hiding in a bunker or in a portable toilet. But it's obvious that a special operation will take place. In fact, these special operations are already underway. You just mentioned Aeroflot. All the airports shut down. Aeroflot, the monopoly, shut down. No company like Pobeda with their aging passenger and aircraft fleet can help. Aeroflot shut down, and not just for a month or two, but for half a year to a year. They should have been working on import substitution. Where is that damn import substitution? There is no import substitution. Still using those old Windows systems? Nothing is helping. Old software too, right? Well, that's it. Now the planes aren't taking off. They're not flying. There's no fuel, no refueling. All the passengers are just standing around. The boards aren't working. All the airports are closed. $50 million, just $50 million a day, lost by Russia from a single airport. And they're all closed across Russia. Not a single plane. No plane is taking off or landing. Nothing. This isn't a contingency plan. This is a total disaster plan. You get it? That's what it's called. By the way, Dasha, I think that very soon Putin will get rid of a second one of his ministers. Just wait. It will happen soon. He just appointed Nikitin as the new Minister of Transport. He already said, if you have any questions about Aeroflot and this whole collapse, address them to the new Minister of Transport, Nikitin. What does that mean? He's next to go out the window. That's it. So get ready. There will be another exit, and there will be another minister killed in Russia, the second one already. Where is Shoigu? No one knows. He still hasn't shown up. He hasn't appeared. Maybe he'll be going to North Korea soon, because Putin forced, this was in the news today, Russian children to write letters to Kim Jong-un. From kindergarten and school, just like that, by order. Write, peasants, write and say, thank you very much, Comrade Kim, for sending not only your own troops, but also your own meat mixed in with ours to fight against Ukraine and the entire West. And for helping Putin with artillery shells and so on and so forth, the list goes on. But the fact is that Ukraine will disrupt the offensive, that Ukraine will carry out special operations. Listen, many people are saying that the operation involving this hacker attack on Aeroflot, and by the way, on the government services website, is being compared by many to the Webb special operation in terms of its scale, saying that yes, in terms of a hacker attack, in this cyber segment, it is comparable. It's clear that Webb was a blow to military capabilities. But this special operation that was carried out against Aeroflot was a direct message to Putin, you see, Dasha, that at any given moment, they could cut off communications in the Kremlin, leaving the Kremlin without power, without communication, without security, without support, without anything. And that Putin could just be quietly taken out somewhere, eliminated without anyone noticing, and nothing will save him. That's why he's constantly being evacuated. Many people have already started saying that it wasn't Putin in St. Petersburg, but his double, greetings to Valery Dmitrievich Solovey, that Putin didn't actually make it there, that it was some kind of stunt double. Remember that story? You used to call me a dreamer, now I'm a stuntman. Turns out in his youth, Vladimir Putin worked part-time as a stuntman. Soon we'll be saying that Vladimir Putin was the one making movies instead of Mikhalkov, dancing instead of Tsiskaridze, singing instead of Babkina. You see? It's all Vladimir Putin. And it's Vladimir Putin who gives birth to children in Russia, and it's Vladimir Putin who baptizes. Well, he definitely does the burying too. Although actually he doesn't do the burying because he sends his dead to Ukraine and claims they're Ukrainian soldiers. When in reality he just doesn't want to spend money on his own soldiers or bury them in his own land. And he doesn't want to hand out extra money left and right to his own people, to his own plebs. That's why he commits such crimes. But the fact that Ukraine will thwart both Putin's August and autumn offensives is 100% certain. And he won't take Sumy, or Odessa, or Kharkiv, or Dnipro. The countdown has begun. Skabiva started counting from the 50th day. I want to see what will happen to all these Skabivas when Trump, who is furious, when Trump just loses it and delivers a colossal blow to Russia. Then I'll take a look at the Moscow exchange, at Putin, at Skabiva's face, at Solovyov's face, and at everyone else. What will they do? And 0 hour is approaching. The climax, the resolution is drawing near. We're already close. We're on the threshold of major, very major upheavals in Russia. Dasha, very major ones. It's not just that a black swan has arrived. August will be pitch black for Russia, pitch black. Putin has never seen an August like this before.
The main question, Dasha, when we talk about Ukraine striking logistics, railway hubs, military airfields, the Northern Pacific Fleet, is whether America and Trump, for example, will take part in this, whether in the form of missiles or some other kind of assistance. So will we get today what everyone has written about, JASSMs and other missiles, Taurus missiles from the Germans, Tomahawks from the Americans, in order to carry out operations?
Look, Dasha, Ukraine will get everything. Trump made it very clear in Britain, having previously reached an agreement with the Europeans. You know what that was about. Everyone says Trump is an idiot, right? Trump is an idiot, incapable of anything. He's just a businessman. I'd love to be that kind of busy businessman, damn. He went to the Middle East and brought back 4 trillion. He went to Scotland with the Europeans, met with them, and brought back 2.5, 3 trillion. Those are some good deals, damn. That's impressive. Yeah, some idiot, huh? Bankrupt Trump, 3 trillion. Where have you ever seen these 3 trillion? Do you even realize what 3 trillion is? Mavrodi, may he rest in peace, is rolling over in his grave. He just collected money room by room. And here we're talking about $3 trillion. Putin's budget couldn't even dream of that kind of money. And Russia has never dreamed of that kind of money and never will. There's going to be a total collapse there soon. A catastrophe. The economy is going to be a mess. And everyone knows it perfectly well. From the finance minister down to the most ordinary bureaucrat. And I'm not even talking about the average person on the streets of Moscow or other Russian cities. But Ukraine will get everything. Ukraine will get anti-missile systems. Trump will close the skies over Ukraine. Trump has no intention of talking to Putin anymore. He made that perfectly clear in front of Starmer. I won't call him anymore and I won't talk to him anymore. I know the answer. That's it. That's why the days are being shortened. But for me, you see, it's not even that I'm holding on to hope. I have a suspicion that the shortening of the days didn't just happen for no reason. First of all, they want to catch Putin in Russia, in Moscow, so that he doesn't fly to China, so that he doesn't have time. Secondly, they probably want to disrupt his offensive actions. Thirdly, they want to ruin his mood and carry out more than one special operation on Russian territory. What we're seeing right now with Aeroflot, multiply it by 10. Just imagine 10 such Webs 2.0 like the ones we've seen before. Imagine, the Americans are capable of this. Recently, we talked about the fact that there was a strike on the command post from which Vladimir Putin was broadcasting, right? They know where Vladimir Putin is. They know where he's hiding, how he moves, which routes he takes, who is with him, what kind of security he has, how it changes, and so on. Half of his security is bought off, corrupt, and his security has long since betrayed Vladimir Putin. Everything, he and his entourage, has been sold out completely. And his inner circle actually wants him gone for good. He's even started taking money from his own people. He's already throwing his own ministers out of windows. Ministers are just carrying out the will of the oligarchs and the security forces. But Putin is suffocating all of them. Oligarchs, security forces, and others, throwing some out of windows and shooting others himself. Well, so listen, going forward, there's absolutely no bright future ahead for Putin in the near term. A lot of people will say, you're just making this up, saying these things to be supportive. But just look, friends, at what's actually happening. So Trump is imposing sanctions. Trump is supplying weapons to Ukraine. Every day, the Russian Federation is constantly losing. Just losing tens, hundreds of billions are lost by the Russian Federation, and Russia's logistics are being destroyed nonstop. Everything is falling apart in Russia. Houses are just exploding and collapsing for no apparent reason. Just now, in one of their colonies, there was a gas explosion. Half the colony is gone, along with the inmates who were being sent to the front. All of this is happening right before our eyes. Do you understand? In St. Petersburg, why wasn't there a parade in St. Petersburg? Where is the Navy parade? Why was some frigate cut from it? Let me explain. Yes, he's afraid. Yes, he doesn't show up, and so on. That's why they're blowing up the Bocharov-Rushe residence in Sochi. It's clear. But there's another reason, Dasha. There are no ships. Where are the ships? The cruiser Moskva. Where is the aircraft carrier they're now dismantling? Admiral Kuznetsov. the first and last aircraft carrier of the Russian Federation. What kind of program was there? What kind of bravado did they have? We'll build an entire fleet of aircraft carriers. We'll outdo China and America. We'll catch up and win. So where's the victory? The victory is up their ass. Do you understand? Instead of the double-headed eagle, they should just put a butt there, excuse me. It also has two heads, you see, two parts. Just take it and put it. It's no different from the current coat of arms of the Russian Federation, because Putin has driven the entire Russian economy and his whole people under the floorboards, and he's sending these people off. And what will Putin do next? Now he's got problems with the economy. He doesn't want to raise the ruble, doesn't want to let inflation spiral. He's already strangled Nabiulina to death. She's lying there, a corpse somewhere in the morgue. He strangled Nabiulina and says, lower the rate. He and his security guys. So what is she supposed to do? She wants to live, so she lowers it. But the economy is done for. It's in recession. Nothing is working. There's collapse everywhere, bankruptcies everywhere, except for military production. So what is he going to do next? He needs to end the war, but he doesn't want to, because he intends to redistribute the flows and give everything to his family and his daughter. I'm sure that in the near future, many people are very skeptical about this, but I think that in the fall, we'll see changes in the government, maybe even Mishustin's resignation. Very soon, it's just around the corner. He doesn't need this circus anymore, you see. He'll appoint his daughter or some friend of his daughter, Katerina Tikhonova, or one of her associates to the position of prime minister. Why does he need the State Duma? Why does he need ministers? Why does he need propagandists when he's got Pasha Zarubin? Why does he need oligarchs when he's got the Kovalchuks? And that's enough. He just doesn't need any of that. He's an old man. He's tired of attending parades. He's tired of fixing ships. So Patrushev gave him an award, put Patrushev in an inflatable boat and sent him off somewhere. Everything is inflatable in Russia, after all. Even the nuclear briefcase is probably inflatable too. Just the other day, Gennady Gudkov was telling me, he said, I once had a commander who was in charge of inflatable troops. I said, what do you mean inflatable? He told me, look, obviously he was in charge of the Air Force, but half the planes were inflatable, just so the Americans would sit there thinking we had a lot of planes. The whole of Russia is puffed up, you see? They try to bluff Trump, try to fool Trump every day, but Trump just isn't buying it anymore. Medvedev started getting upset, saying, now we're going to ignite, this nuclear ash, something over the Atlantic. The states will find out what Russia is, we'll start a war with the states, and so on and so forth. First, they'll scatter Medvedev and his remains, you see, over the Atlantic or wherever else. Putin doesn't need him either, and Medvedev knows this perfectly well. Putin doesn't need anyone anymore. He'll just put someone like Kirill Dmitriev in place and be satisfied with that. But what can Vladimir Putin do next? I believe that his last push will be to try to move toward Kaliningrad and use Belarus as a staging ground. I'm certain that he will remove Lukashenko and will soon stage a coup in Belarus. It's not for nothing that Maria Zakharova has started speaking out. He will organize a government coup in Belarus in the near future and will try to remove Alexander Lukashenko from power, replacing him with his own lieutenant colonel or colonel. He already has a successor lined up. Putin has an operation called Successor regarding Lukashenko. These plans exist within the general staff, tucked away in desk drawers. Putin has these plans on his desk, and the FSB has them too. Everything is ready for the elimination of Lukashenko and for a regime change in Belarus. Lukashenko knows this, and I think he will struggle until the very end. And I hope that he will outlast and outwait Vladimir Putin and this regime. To hell with it, But the fact is, Putin wants to take Belarus, and now he has already sent, the second drone has flown. Listen, a Russian Garan drone has already entered Lithuanian territory. It even reached Vilnius. It was already there. They already shot it down. Today in Belarus, they shot down a drone. Somewhere in Minsk, I think they shot down a drone. Whose drone did they shoot down, I wonder? Of course, it was Putin's. But why? Because it's necessary to provoke a war, because it's necessary to drag Lukashenko in. But Lukashenko doesn't want to. That's why I think that in the next month, there will be an escalation, a climax of the situation. It will reach its peak. Somewhere around August, September, that will be the peak. And after that, we'll come to another turning point. The only question is a turning point of what? A phase, a stage, or the whole war? That's the most crucial question. But I believe that we are at such a climactic point. The only question is this just another climax, or is it the final climax for Vladimir Putin and his regime?
Friends, please like this video. Write a few kind words in the comments to support our tandem, Sasha plus Dasha, Dasha plus Sasha. We work several times a week on my YouTube channel and on Dmitry Gordon's YouTube channel. So in the comments, let us know where you're watching from, your location, a few kind words in support of the armed forces of Ukraine, and what you think about our tandem. Sasha, when I watched that statement from Trump where he said he was tired of talking to Putin, that he was giving him just 10 or 12 days at most. Then, in another one of his rants, he went on to profess his love for the Russian people. But then he still said that he was dissatisfied. Trump is dissatisfied with Putin. For me, all these little remarks about the Russian people who are killing Ukraine and other nations, and yet for him, as he said, I love them very much. I honestly have no idea what's going on in Trump's head if he allows himself to say things like that. I wanted to ask you, will it be a maximum of 100% tariffs on secondary goods, right? China,
India and other countries that buy energy resources from Russia. Is that the maximum?
I don't think that's the maximum. Listen, I think there will be weapons, there will be intelligence, there will be aid, and Europeans will also be buying aid. Listen, what about the 17 Patriot systems that Ukraine will definitely have? Because Germany is already supplying 3 or has already supplied them. Is that not enough or what? Before, just try to get anything from Biden. Patriots and everything else. And what about the missiles that are coming now? What about those? Is that not enough? And what about the 100% tariffs against India, Turkey, for example, countries like Bulgaria, which has become a hub and is trucking huge amounts of sanctioned goods to Turkey, Central Asia, and Kazakhstan as well? Is that not the maximum? 100% tariffs and negotiations so that no Indians do business with Russians, no deals are made at all. And what about cutting Russia's budget by another 3 or 4 trillion rubles? Is that not the maximum? You see, I don't care who Trump loves, his wife, Elon Musk, or some group of people. I don't care who he loves. What matters to me is what he does. I always look at actions, I look at deeds, and I watch where things are heading. You see, I pay attention to what money is coming in, what weapons are coming in, and so on. Let him declare his love for Putin every day, and then hand over missiles to Ukraine and bomb him to hell. You understand? He even declared his love to Musk. Where is Musk now? Now the head of Roscosmos has come to the US. He's going to negotiate with the director of NASA, and I think will meet with Elon Musk. There's your answer. Putin's negotiator is already in the US, already in Washington. You understand? He's already there. They've passed it on through him. Who is our new head of Roscosmos? He's a person close to Ekaterina Tikhonova, whose interests were being pushed, whose interests were being promoted in the States during those meetings, like when Kirill Dmitriev was there with his friends, with Likov, his business partner. The interest of Roscosmos and this director personally. Look up his last name later. They change like gloves. They're already there. They've already flown out. They're already worried. Who cares about that propagandist Skabiva or about how they keep bringing out that is Solovyov and Dmitry Kiselyov? Who cares about Medvedev's statements? They've already sent a negotiator. They're already scared. They're already in a cold sweat. They don't want this. Anyone can say whatever they want. Venediktov can say that the Moscow exchange, yes, that the Moscow exchange didn't react at all. Just wait, it will react. Can you imagine what will happen when the Indians refuse everything, stop buying, and the Turks stop supplying, especially with the problems with Azerbaijan? Stop supplying everything to Russia. Sanctioned goods, dual-use goods, and even non-dual-use goods. Can you even imagine what that would be like? How will the fat cats howl then? They're already having problems. There's a recession. There's a decline. Let me put it in plain, simple terms. Everything in Russia is falling apart. And now imagine this. Multiply it by 10 by 20. What would that look like? Isn't that enough already? Others haven't even done that much. That's why I think Trump will give weapons to Ukraine. There will be sanctions. Wait, there will be hellish sanctions imposed by Congress as well. Right now, Trump will play around a bit. Then he'll say, wait, I've got another ace up my sleeve. Hold on, now there's Congress and the Senate. Graham's hellish sanctions will reach a 100% agreement with the Indians, will negotiate, but I can't stop them. There will be another 500%. Just wait. Obviously, this isn't meant to happen in a single day. It will have a cumulative effect. It's going to last a long time. And during this time, Putin will be bombing relentlessly and delivering massive, large-scale strikes and so on. That's what he'll be doing. He's already doing it. There haven't even been any yet. Look, there were 50 days. Now it's 10 or 12 days. And he still kept striking Odessa, the maternity hospital, Kharkiv, the maternity hospital, Dnipro. He just hit the maternity hospital in the Dnipropetrovsk region. It's just horrifying. In Kamyanska, let me remind you, a 23-year-old pregnant girl died. She was just there for observation, probably, and now she's gone. Well, she, a man, and the unborn child. So what? And what, he hasn't done this before? He has. Will he keep doing it? He will. And so what? Right now, the most crucial thing is for America to give Ukraine weapons, to help destroy and crush all of Russia's offensive actions, to wipe out everything in the rear, to carry out more than one special operation with Ukraine, to arm Ukraine to the teeth, to fully protect Ukrainian skies, to reassure the Europeans, and give them any guarantees necessary so that they hand over Patriots to Ukraine. Give Ukraine everything they're supposed to give. Because the Europeans are asleep while the Americans are not. The Americans have made all the decisions. They said, let's do it. So where is it? The Europeans fell asleep, said 6 to 8 months. There are no 6 or 8 months. Let's do it now. But the board is still turning in our favor, Dasha. Unfortunately, it's against the backdrop of tragedies like this every single day. It's terrible, just terrible what he's doing. A huge number of people killed at once in a single day, innocent people, people who did nothing wrong. So friends, please keep supporting. But the fact is, it's going to get intense in Moscow, in St. Petersburg. There will be massive strikes, and these strikes will escalate. Look, today there were also drone attacks on St. Petersburg. He's not even there, but there were still attacks. We're already reaching St. Petersburg. Could you have imagined this before Trump? Could you have imagined this at the start of the fighting, at the beginning of the full-scale invasion? No, the war is evolving, and so is technology. I'm sure that within a year, the Americans will be supplying Ukraine with millions of drones. And then things definitely won't be fun for Russia, nor for Putin, along with Russia.
The US delivered nuclear weapons to Britain on a plane with its transponders turned on, which is very important with the transponders on, Bloomberg reports. According to the publication, the US is showing Russia that it is not reducing its nuclear presence in Europe. It was previously reported that for the first time since 2008, the US has returned its nuclear weapons to Britain. Is this a greeting from Trump to Putin and to the Russian people whom Trump loves so much?
This is a message to Putin. This is a message to Medvedev. They sent B-class bombs, thermonuclear bombs, nuclear weapons on a military plane. For the first time, as you correctly pointed out, since 2007 or 2008, on European territory, Trump will continue to blackmail with his nuclear arsenal, his nuclear weapons, his nuclear club, tactical, strategic. Medvedev is telling some story about Prague. Maybe he wants to distract himself. I don't even know anymore. Some kind of plague has started there again. Kadyrov went there and almost drowned. Shoigu has disappeared. That one shot himself, Starovoyt or whatever his name was. Now Medvedev is telling some story about ashes. Everyone is getting ready, in my opinion. It's not clear for some kind of total plague, for executions or something in the Russian Federation. But that's the answer. Because Trump made it clear that now American nuclear weapons will be in Europe and in Britain. And if they keep playing around, they'll be in Eastern Europe too, near the Russian Federation's border. American nuclear bombs. And nothing else will be needed. Just like when they once deployed them in Turkey. Why did the Cuban Missile Crisis happen when they put missiles in Turkey that could reach Moscow? They deployed them then, and now they'll deploy them somewhere in Turkey, in Poland, or somewhere else. In Germany, well, maybe not Germany, but in Poland, they probably could, or somewhere else. So what, will that be fun for you? So yes, transponders. Let's just, clarify. Maybe many people don't know what that is. It's what transmits signals, and with these signals, intelligence or aviation services can detect what's happening. They sent a signal to Vladimir Putin, that's it. American nuclear weapons in Europe. And now notice, even Trump, I'm not just talking about that $2.5 to $3 trillion deal. What did Trump do? He said, buy my gas and my oil and my liquefied gas for $750 billion and give up Russian supplies. That's it, there will be nothing else. And everyone agreed. And all of Europe signed on. All of them, Orban, the Slovaks, and so on. Everyone signed everything. Why is that? Why is that? What about their beloved Vladimir Putin? What about their beloved Russian people? Well, that's how it is. With Nord Stream 2, no gas, no electricity, no coal, nothing, no oil. And everything will go to America. And American weapons will go to Europe. But what if it's over 600 billion? What if American weapons start flowing into Europe? What does that mean? What's the logic here? What does logic tell us? It means that what's sitting in Europe will go to Ukraine. Does Putin have the ability to raise the stakes and take part in an arms race? No. He himself came out and said, we're going to cut the budget. We're going to reduce military spending. Why? He doesn't want to get involved in this war. He doesn't have the means. He'll be finished before the arms race is over. He doesn't have the strength or resources, and everyone understands that. He mostly imitates, he mostly bluffs, rather than actually having the capabilities. You see, he doesn't have any of that. And Trump knows this. And he knows perfectly well the sanctions will hit Putin very hard, very hard. No matter how much bravado there is in the Kremlin.
Who are you, Trump, to dictate when to start peace negotiations? Medvedev responded to Senator Graham's call for negotiations. American Senator Lindsey Graham commented on Medvedev's post on X about the risk of war between Russia and the US due to secondary sanctions. You and your clients will soon be deeply disappointed. You will also soon see that Joe Biden is no longer president. Sit down at the negotiating table, he wrote. In response, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council stated, "Everything will end when the objectives of the military operation are achieved. Take care of America first, Grandpa." This was stated by Medvedev. Are we right in understanding that Putin absolutely doesn't care, and through Medvedev is basically saying, impose your sanctions, I'll keep waging the war?
Grandpa, listen, maybe he's not addressing Trump. Maybe he's talking to Putin. Maybe Dmitry Anatolyevich Medvedev is offering his services. Maybe he's suggesting he could remove Putin. Please, arm him. Send him a drone. Did you notice how Putin's security, or, I don't know, Putin's double or his triple in St. Petersburg was walking around with anti-drone systems? Didn't notice? They showed it for everyone to see. How they were carrying mini-drones in their hands. Soon they'll be carrying bazookas like Schwarzenegger. There are already portable toilets, armored limousines, armored trains, different motorcades, different planes, anti-drone systems. Soon they'll be carrying a bronze Putin around. You get it? Inflatable ships and completely burned down residences and houses of Vladimir Putin. Well, he's already lost his mind, gone completely crazy over there. But further, you see, let them keep blackmailing. First of all, Trump has Medvedev on his radar. He said so himself in St. Petersburg. If he writes again, he'll regret it. I think Trump has the power, the means, and the ability to make sure such statements aren't made anymore. He just sent nuclear weapons to Europe. Russia will try to do something to make some noise, maybe try to conduct some exercises. The Americans will conduct such exercises all around the perimeter of the Russian Federation. They'll scare Putin so much somewhere near Leningrad. They'll block the Danish Straits. They'll cut off all flows of sanctioned goods. China will ditch Putin. They'll make a deal with the Chinese, and together with the Japanese, they'll give Putin a big surprise near the Kuril Islands. He'll find it very interesting and entertaining. Notice the most crucial thing that's happened recently is that Trump took the Caucasus, Azerbaijan, and Armenia away from Putin, and I think he'll take Georgia too. In what sense will he take it? He simply brought it into the American orbit, away from Moscow. So what? And where? Was Putin able to do that? No. And what else did Trump do? Together with the Turks, a NATO member country, they just took Syria from Putin and took the Middle East from him as well. Now they're going to squeeze Libya out of Putin's hands in Africa. They'll wipe out all the mercenaries there to hell in just a few years. The Russian ones, another one. And what about Iran? How's it going? Did Vladimir Putin help? Iran has been riddled like a sieve, even with its nuclear weapons, with those bombs, 9 bombs, that they so brazenly threatened the whole world with, especially Israel and the US. So where is all of that now? Where is it all? And yesterday, Trump also said, we will keep striking Iran and their nuclear facilities. So Putin has lost a lot over the past weeks, over the past months, and in the next 6 months, he will lose all his opportunities in the Ukrainian direction and in Belarus as well. He didn't just visit Belarus for no reason. His negotiations, his separate talks with Lukashenko were about getting Lukashenko to turn away from Putin by 180 degrees and shift toward Trump to betray Putin. And he will betray this Vladimir Putin. That's why Medvedev can say whatever he wants, anything at all. Medvedev's problem isn't that he became an alcoholic. Medvedev's problem isn't just that he could have become president a second time, could have made it so that Putin was no longer in Russia, and could have saved his country from disgrace. Medvedev's problem lies elsewhere. Medvedev's problem is that his life hangs by a thread, that nobody there needs him, that he's worse than Zhirinovsky, that he's a clown. But he's an unfunny clown, an untalented clown, a mediocre clown. And Medvedev's problem is that Putin doesn't need him, and nobody in Russia needs him either, that he's just a prop, a facade that can easily be moved, replaced, destroyed, and so on. Essentially, he has become a nobody, even though he could have been everything in the Russian Federation, playing on the tablet that Barack Obama gave him. And now Donald Trump simply won't do anything with Medvedev, but he will do a lot of things regarding Russia. And neither Putin nor Medvedev nor the elite will like that. And I am sure, Dasha, that we will see the day when even Medvedev will be among the conspirators trying to remove Vladimir Putin from power, because Putin won't leave anyone, none of the old cronies behind. Not Medvedev, not Shoigu, not any of these ministers, not any of these reset oligarchs. No one will be left. It will either be Putin or there will be no Putin.
I prepared 2 topics for you for the finale. In short, Russia has banned the export of gasoline until the end of August. The decision is related to a shortage on the domestic market due to complications at refineries caused by drone attacks and sanctions. Bloomberg.
But before, they had an agreement, a pact between all the directors, all the owners of the refineries and all the gas stations in Russia, that they would keep prices at the level of inflation and not raise them. There was always artificial pricing there. So what do they have now? What do they have now? Didn't Putin order them to keep inflation in check? And so they need to raise prices, but they can't do anything. So exporting becomes unprofitable. There will soon be a fuel crisis in Russia, a fuel crisis. And if Ukraine continues to strike oil refineries, especially in the central region, Moscow Oblast, the central regions of Russia, where the major refineries are concentrated, not in the south, but the big ones in the north and center of the Russian Federation, then things will really heat up. In that case, there would be no need for any missile attacks on Aeroflot. It will simply be grounded because there won't be any fuel. And there won't be any fuel at Russian gas stations either, and people will be running around with jerry cans, metal cans, scrambling for 10 or 20 liters, refueling from each other, looking for all sorts of mixtures to blend and so on. You see what I mean? There's nothing good about that. This is a crisis. It's growing, it's escalating, and the mess is just getting bigger and bigger. But it would be better if they weren't so worried about gasoline and whether to export it or not. It would be better if they didn't export their Valentina Ivanovna Matvienko. She just attended her parliamentary congress in Geneva. Supposedly, they tried to silence her there. We're sick and tired of you already. Do you understand? You just sit there. Sometimes you invite a conductor, Gergiev, then you invite Matvienko along with Slutsky and other sanctioned comrades from the Russian Duma, that state full house. Calm down already over there. Ukraine needs weapons, not Matvienko in Geneva. What the hell is she even doing in Geneva? That Valka the glass. They're all alcoholics. Listen, just think about it for a second. Medvedev is an alcoholic. He's drunk himself into oblivion. Matvienko is glued to the bottle. Everyone has cancer. They're all drunk and they're all scared. Only Putin doesn't drink, and he's destroying everyone over there in Russia. It's insane. How could they have brought the country so low?
I'll just finish by saying that in Russia, they finally found an impressive way to fight drones. Only the ringing of church bells works against them. Artemy Vladimirov, a proto-priest, called the ringing of bells the best way to fight Ukrainian drones.
Here's my very brief recipe. Send all those guys in cassocks, the security agents, and the bells under the Kremlin. Let them ring there. Just one day of ringing and Putin will finally lose his mind. Right under all his portable toilets, under all his residences, send them there with the bells and a religious procession. Together with Gundyaev, let Gundyaev stay in the Kremlin and ring those bells nonstop until he just goes completely mad from all that ringing. If that's what helps against drones. And send them to St. Petersburg too, take everything there instead. No need for any anti-missile systems. Just send everything to Rubliovka. No anti-missile systems are needed, neither for the Kremlin nor for St. Petersburg. Nothing is needed at all. No need to protect Palace Square either. Bells, bells, send the archpriest there, send Gundyaev there, and keep ringing, and just wait, and watch the drones, and watch the fireworks.
And only the ringing of bells will save Russia from Tomahawks, Jassams, Tauruses, and the Long Neptune.
And do you know who will be the last to ring the bell? Donald Trump. Just wait. You'll hear the bells ringing in about 10 days, loud and clear, echoing all across Ivanovskaya Square. You see, it will start from Preshistenka and go all the way to Malaya Obrunaya.
Friends, Sasha and I will definitely discuss Trump's final bell as well. That will happen soon. I'm sure our next episode will be dedicated to it.
Evening bells, evening bells. Remember? Amazing. Yes.
I'm sure Sasha will even sing in the next episode. So stay tuned. Friends, please like this video. Leave a few kind words in the comments to support our duo. Dasha plus Sasha, Sasha plus Dasha. Coming soon to all screens. Dasha, Sasha, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye.